talk about some of the things that are on your mind. I mean, I could talk forever. You know, in politics, that's the one thing you learn real quick is you can talk forever. The best time sometimes is the longer you talk, nobody can ask you questions, and I don't like that. That's not fair. So I'm here to really answer your questions. I'll just say a couple of things and talk about just what's going on in Sacramento. We're kind of very disappointed, obviously, in what you've all read in the paper lately about the ethics challenges that some of our members have and the problem that that's created, especially for the Senate, where we had two-thirds majority, and now we're a vote short of that. And it's a sad situation. I have legislation this year based on what we've learned from some of this, but unfortunately you can't legislate a good, straight moral compass. You can't legislate ethics, you can't legislate morality. It's what your moral compass is. The laws are in place. Those three people, we know that they knew where that line was. They talked about it. If you look at the FBI affidavits, they knew where the line was. And some of us stayed far on the other side of the line. Some of us kind of snuggle up to that line. Some of them snuggle up to that line. And some of them crossed that line. And it's an unfortunate thing, but they knew where the line was. If you read the affidavits, if it's accurate, they said, we know what, you know, we can't talk about that because that's pay to play. Yet when they talked about it, then they did it. And so you can't legislate that. But what we did this year, and I've got some legislation that will make some changes in the campaign finance laws to really determine what is a campaign expenditure. And one thing that we amended the bill to do last Friday is to prohibit a public official who has a campaign fund for his re-election or whatever to use any of those funds for his or her personal criminal defense. And that is what I think is outrageous, and we're going to stop that, as well as create more transparency and to prevent a lot of this stuff. And so it's important that we do that. So we're very fortunate this year in Sacramento because the economy has turned around, as many of you know. We're seeing an upsurge, especially in Silicon Valley and in San Mateo and Santa Clara County. We're very fortunate and blessed. I'm honored to represent you in the state Senate. I can't tell you how grateful and how honored I am to be there. Every day I have to pinch myself when I walk up to that Capitol and I look at that dome and go in and look at the rotunda and sit on the floor of the state Senate. It is such an honor and a gift that you have given me, and I look at it as a responsibility to make sure that this area and you are all protected and looked after, and the issues that come before us, and they come pretty fast, and because there are so many special interests. I think there are 5,000 lobbyists and 120 legislators, so we're outnumbered, way outnumbered, but we have to do our part to keep fighting for it, and this area is really the driving force of our economy in California, and because of that, we're seeing at the end of this budget year, which should be June 30th, we will see probably a $1 to $4 billion budget surplus coming in.
Wow.
The governor has some goals, and I agree with them that it's important that we pay down our debt that we have. We get that taken care of, that we create a rainy day fund. You will see on the ballot this year a rainy day fund initiative or a ballot initiative that will require us to keep a certain percentage of our budget in it's a surplus, and the purpose of that is to make sure that when we have that downturn that we know is coming again, we know we're going to have it, that when we see that, we're going to have the resources there and provide it. Because we had to cut about $50 billion over the last 5 years, $50 billion, and a lot of that came from education, K through 12. The good thing that's happening is that we will have because of Proposition 98 that we all voted for a number of years ago, the surplus that's coming in, a lot of that money will go directly to K to 12 education. So we're going to see some real benefits for that, and that's going to be. I wanted to just thank a couple of members of the City Council who are here today, Sue Degree and Karen Irwin. Karen, thank you very much. Sue, thank you. And Ginny Jackal, where are you? There you are, Dean. Thank you very much for all of your service. And I thought if you were over there a minute ago, you were hiding on me, didn't you? But thank you very much for your service, because I'll tell you, there's nothing harder, more difficult than being a city council member. It's a little easier. That's not easier in Pacific Avenue. You're tough and proud. But what you've got is it's sad in a way. That's why this is so important to me here, because I want to listen to your questions and concerns in a second. But it's so nice because you come here and you get grounded very easily. You learn about what's going on. You see the questions and stuff. When you go to Sacramento, I spend 4 days a week there, and it's such an artificial environment. It's like fantasy land. There's nothing real about the place, and it's I mean, I hate to say it, but it is really unreal in terms of how it works. A lot of the people, I mean, I've never had so many people laugh at my jokes in my life, and I'm not that funny. So it's an amazing place in that sense. So you come here and you get grounded, and people are right there. There, everyone tells you what you want to hear. Here, everyone tells you what they think you should hear, and what's important to them, and what's important to their community, and they're right there around you all the time. That's why the city council members, and I'm so appreciative of what they do, and because it is real democracy in action. So I can talk for everybody, but I'm sure there are questions that people may have, and I'm happy to answer, or I can keep going. So whatever you like. Yes, sir.
Yeah. A lot of us live near pipelines, and you've done a hell of a job staying on top of PG&E for those 8 people who got burned alive a few years ago. Most people don't realize that half of the buildings in San Francisco burned down as a result of ruptured pipelines.
After the earthquake.
After the earthquake. It wasn't the earthquake, it was the pipelines. God forbid we have a big one, either here or in the East Bay, on how much would burn down. You're aware of that. A lot of people aren't. PG&E got the PUC, I've been to the PUC 3 times, got the PUC to agree to let them go out to this year before they have automatic shut-off lines. I'm looking at the PG&E site. It doesn't look like they can turn the gas off within minutes of an earthquake yet. Do you know where we stand on that?
You know, that is such an important issue.
One more thing on that. PG&E couldn't get the automatic meter readers on our houses fast enough.
Right.
Okay? It seems like they ought to be able to use the same technology to be able to shut down every pipeline within 90 seconds of an earthquake.
And it's such a very important point. And going back to what happened in San Bruno in 2010, on September 9th, you know, that gas flowed out of that 30-inch pipe at 386 pounds per square inch. It came out of it for an hour and a half because no one could shut the gas off. No one knew where that pipe was, and actually it was a Pacifica resident who was an off-duty PG&E gas employee who saw the fire, saw it on the news, knew what the problem was, and knew where that shutoff was. He went up in his truck to shut it off, and we even had. And he had a hard time getting there, interestingly, because we were looking at legislation this year, because those are first responders as well. He had to get there, and he had a truck, a pickup with a yellow light on it. It's interesting because he said when he was at the National Transportation Safety Board, he was trying, the traffic was backed up, you know, commute traffic at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, and he couldn't make it. So he put the yellow light on it, had it going on his truck, and he would go, and people got out of his way because they knew that he was going to that big ball of fire and try and do something about it. But they don't have the same ability, so we're trying to get them there. But it's absolutely correct. The utilities have not had automatic shut-off valves on their main gas lines at all in the past. And so what we're trying to do is make sure, I had legislation to require it. They haven't moved forward fast enough because they complain it costs too much and it's a big job to do that. And I haven't really looked at where they are today, but I will. Thank you for reminding me.
Their own guidelines a year and a half ago were that, I believe it was June of this year,
that they were going to do that.
They were going to do that.
Okay.
They had pushed it out that far.
Well, that's what we need to find out, is where we'll find out and put their feet to the fire on this thing. Because the sad part is, and I just thought, it's the PUC is just as responsible and has been as PG&E over this whole issue. Because as you saw, the federal criminal indictments, 12 federal charges and criminal charges against PG&E that came out 2 weeks ago, those charges were that really caused that explosion because they diverted money. They were told, basically, the executives told their crews to not use the appropriate testing methods, to cut corners, to divert the money to profits and incentives for executives and for shareholders. And that was intentional, and they did it, and the PUC did nothing to stop it.
Some of us put out a petition to the district attorney of San Mateo County to prosecute the executives individually on criminal charges. Didn't go anywhere.
I talked to the district attorney last week.
The $2 billion PG&E is going to pay in criminal charges.
Right.
Everybody in this room is going to get to pay that.
Well, now that will come out of their shareholder profit. That's definitely in actually legislation that we did a couple of years ago to make sure that they couldn't do that. But it is true. And talking with the district attorney, the problem was the extent of this investigation was so large. They had over 6 million emails to look at. 6 million emails, and the federal prosecutors are the only ones with the resources to do that. He said, and you're absolutely correct, there are individuals who should be criminally indicted for what happened. The problem is the U.S. attorney wouldn't do it and wouldn't charge them, at least at this point. Maybe we can keep the pressure on and they may do that. Yes, sir?
What about switching to solar instead of gas?
Well, solar's a good idea. That's a great idea.
Electric
great
cars.
Something to do. Yeah, electric cars are a good idea. You know, we're going to need gas for a long time to come, even with solar, just like we're going to need gas for those cars, no matter how many electric vehicles we have for a long time to come.
Lancaster, California has switched to solar.
Yes.
The whole city.
Right, and that's good. And Lancaster can get away with it. Because it'd be more difficult here to get, especially when we don't have the storage capabilities yet to store that energy that we create during the day and have it at night. So, but it's a very good point. Thank you for that. Other thoughts, comments? Yes.
Let's hope the ratepayers don't have to pick up the tab. They've been getting money for years for this and never bothered to fix it. I mean, that's not right. It's jumping on us.
That's exactly right. The question was in the comment that the PG&E, that the PUC, the PG&E has been getting money for years to operate a safe system and to do what's necessary to keep it safe. And they didn't use that money for that. They diverted it to those profits that I talked about. That's true. That's why in the rate cases that are going forward, we're trying to determine what that dollar amount is so we don't pay twice. Because they're more than happy to have us pay twice for that. But it's a very good point. Very, very true. So, yes?
Hi, Brian Rubenstein, longtime Pacifica resident, firefighter in San Francisco, member of 798, and I just wanted to give us a thank you for coming here and talking to us, and a thank you for your voting record with respect to labor.
Thank you.
Very good.
Appreciate it, Brian.
And you think about this, then. I wanted to know if you would support again Leno's Senate bill coming through now, 1182, transparency with health care. It's a big issue.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, I don't know the bill number, what it actually says.
Last year it came through, the governor vetoed it. He told Kaiser this time if they didn't voluntarily, he let it through. So you've seen this before.
Okay. Well, did I vote for it last year? Did I? I'm sorry.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, good. Sure, I'll vote for it again. But I can never remember the numbers on bills. I can't even remember my own bill numbers. Yes?
What about fracking moratorium? Would you be able to support that this time around?
You know, it's an interesting issue, and it'll be coming to my committee that I chair, the Environmental Quality Committee, on the 30th of April. And the issue of fracking is a very interesting one, because if you look online today, you know, there's a lot of discussion about fracking based on 2 movies that are out related to it. And those movies discuss fracking on the other side of the country that used a certain method of taking oil out of the ground and getting, you know, just abusing and ruining an environment there. In California, the governor made it clear he was not going to sign a fracking moratorium bill. So no matter how much we want to say we want to stop fracking, as long as the governor doesn't sign the bill, it's not going to happen. So what was done last year was an alternative. An alternative was to create very critical and concise regulations and transparency around the wells that go into the ground. And I believe if you go online today and you pick up your permit number, you can see everything around that well in terms of the water, in terms of the inspections and the examinations, and the testing that is done around every well that is now dug in California. That was the best that we could get last year. And so we put together kind of a Community Hero Award just to honor and recognize those who have done that and who've given so much back to the community. And this is actually the 10th Java with Jerry we've had since October of 2012. So really, this is a kind of a celebration today for us, and it's really wonderful. And what I wanted to do is it gives me great honor to recognize Pacificans Care for the Community Hero Award today. So please give let me tell you a few things about what they've been doing. And you know what's so nice about Pacificans Care is, one, Pacificans care. Two, what do they care about? They care because they're, why do you have to go for services over that mountain, over that hill? Why do you have to go over there if you're a senior, or if you're a child, or if you need, food pantry, you need anything? Why do you have to go on the other side of the mountain? You shouldn't have to. And that's when communities take care of their own. And that's what Pacificans Care has been doing. They've raised money for local Pacifica social service activities and organizations. And they've been doing that for, 35 years? 32 years. It's amazing. And they do it with raising funds, fundraising, partnering with others. But the most important part is they do it locally, and no one knows the local community and the needs of the local community more than a local organization. And that's what's so special about Pacificans Care. And it's a good morning. Have some coffee on me. And pastries too. We got it. But it is really a wonderful honor to present this to Pacificans Care. And they provide this to the different youth services, senior services, and any other issue that's related to Pacifica, the community, and those who are struggling. Because frankly, the state of California, that $50 billion we cut over the last 4 years, that's all, most of it, out of those social services. And they're not available. The Pacificans care and are providing it. So let me present this wonderful thing to you guys. Thank you, Carrie. Pacificans care a lot.
Thank you very much. We are very excited to be Community Heroes. We have felt like heroes for many years, and it's wonderful to be recognized. If I may say just a few things. First of all, we are a 15-member, all-volunteer board. 8 of us are here right now. We have...
Look at that.
Over 96% of what we raise goes back to the community. We're raising about $45,000 right now a year. And yes, that goes from infants all the way to seniors, the Meals on Wheels, transportation, summer field trips for children who are disadvantaged. The Youth Service Bureau, right just around the corner here, provides counseling for families and teens, counseling in the schools. So we do really, and of course the Resource Center. So we really do quite a bit, but we also provide mini grants to small special projects. We also are a fiscal sponsor to organizations that are trying to get something going in this community. For instance, the Friendship Playground, we sponsored that. The infrared cameras for the fire department, CPR mannequins for the recreation to teach CPR. So we really do a lot. And we appreciate that we are being recognized for that. So anyone who wants more information about our organization, there are some flyers here, but also at citizenscare.org. And we also, our next fundraiser is Casino Night, and it is coming up. There should be a poster here. It's coming up May 3rd, Saturday night, and we would like to give you 2 complimentary tickets.
Oh, now wait. Remember that line we were talking about earlier? I'll pay for the ticket. I'll pay for the ticket.
Thank you very much.
That's what, happy to do it. Happy to do it. Thank you. Yes, of course.
I just want them all to know as well, Jerry always comes and participates in our Fall Fest parade. He always pays the parade entry too.
Yeah. Absolutely. But I'm not going to promote the casino night. Nothing about casino, no. It's a great opportunity to come and have fun with it.
I want you to know that last year when we had T-shirts, you insisted on paying for your own T-shirt, so you're really honest. A year ago you were.
A year ago, I
you were
forgot
paying.
about that, but I'm still wearing that T-shirt too, and I like it.
Good.
That's really good. So thank you, congratulations, Kathy. Thank you for everything. Isn't that amazing? And that resource center, you haven't seen the resource center. What a great location and a wonderful facility that is. I was there for the grand opening and the ribbon cutting. It's really nice. So, Queen of Pacifica. This is our Jubilee 40th anniversary. The 40th anniversary of the day. I mean, isn't it? It's just a wonderful location, and just this is a. It's a wonderful place for the community to come together here, not just for us, and the great food on top of it. Really, let me just present that and thank you very much.
Well, our motto is we're the bakery with the heart, and it's because of you guys that show us all the love, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
I know how can we make our procedures and the way the police department deals with individuals.
Thank you very much.
The question was, how can we deal with, how can we make changes to how the police department deals with people who are mentally ill? And that's a legitimate question. And one of the things that's good about San Mateo County, and I experienced it about 10 to 12 years ago, was we had an opportunity to see a program called Crisis Intervention Training, and it's CIT. And what that program does is it is a program where police officers go through a 40-hour training to learn how to recognize and how to handle situations that may be very stressful and difficult, but how to recognize if that person is suffering from some mental illness and not really acting in their own, but acting because of that mental illness. And it's a very terrible situation because we put police officers in difficult situations because they don't know. They have their jobs to do and protect their lives and those around them. So as I've seen, and the idea is to expand that program so every police officer, it's my goal to see that it is part of the post-training. This is the where when police officers are trained to become police officers, it's called post. What does it stand for, Chief? Trying to think. Police officers training. Yes, and then every police officer go through that training and recognize those issues that are difficult, and so that they can act in a perhaps a different manner and treat the problem a little more in a sensitive manner, recognizing it. But now that training is not universal, and that's one of the problems as I see it. So we need to recognize it. Yes, Chief.
Just to let you know that our city and our police department supports the CIT training in the county, and we already have 10 of our officers that have gone through
Really?
that 4-hour program. We have 2 scheduled in the upcoming class, and the commitment for me as the chief is that every one of our officers will eventually get through that training.
That's,
So we've
that's
been
great.
involved in that training for years, and we continue to be involved in it.
That's wonderful, Chief. That is it's a great program, and it's very important. And then it also counts, the county has through AMR particularly the SMART team, which is a team of medics and people who are trained in mental illness. They can go and respond in a unique manner. So it's the problem always seems to be, and sadly, we haven't been able to put the resources behind it. It's necessary to do it the right way. Go ahead. Comment about it?
Yes, Gary, because you deserve credit for bringing the CIT training program to San Mateo County 12 years ago when you were on the Board of Supervisors. But in the last 10 years, we've had 10 deaths or serious injuries in this county. It's time that you've introduced some legislation to place the responsibility for treating untreated mental illness back on the public health officers of the county who have the funds through Prop 63. And I ask you to go back and take a look at the state auditor's report that was issued last August and go to Senator Steinberg and say, where does that $11 billion go? The state auditor couldn't find it. That's the money that we need to implement Laura's law in this county. And we are not getting a kind of accountability out of the Mental Health Services Oversight and Accountability Commission. The state auditor looked at their books and they couldn't find $11 billion. And people have been dying since that passed in 2004.
A very good point, and I will look at it. Thank you very much for bringing that up. Thank you all very much for coming this morning and being part of this. And it's great to see everyone. And remember, Pacificans do care.